Hey, Printlife, welcome back. We've got Ross Hunter and Jared Granbury on. This is a fun episode because it's behind the scenes at ROQ. What are the things going on? We've got Jared, who is president at GSG, moved over to ROQ to run sales. We've got Ross Hunter, who was CEO of ROQ US, leaving and going to Liquid Graphics down in Southern California. Just a bunch of changes, but really cool behind the scenes of what does 2026 product roadmap look like for them? And then how does product feedback and innovation work, right? I mean, ROQ is based in the manufacturing, is based in Portugal. They've got presses all over the world and China and US and so on. So it was cool to look behind the curtain. So we're going to jump on into this episode, but we've got incredible partners that help us put this show on every single week. So support them. They support us in this space, and then we'll jump in.
If you need a solution to improve efficiency and reduce costs in your art department, hit up Graphic Source. They offer industry-leading outsource options for your shop by truly becoming a part of your team. They plug and play with Printavo and other shop management software. And when it comes to SEPs, mockups, creative art, order management, embroidery, digitizing, they have over 40 years in the game. They really know and understand shop needs. They have a proven track record of success. They run our art department. They handle all of our SEPs. They live in our Printavo. Hit up Graphic Source. You can get 50% off your first vector, SEP, or embroidery order. They will absolutely be at Long Beach. Easy Way is launching a new giveaway to give back to their amazing customers. Each month, they're giving away a $250 prize, and it's super easy to enter. You can go to easyway.com/giveaway. Make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier with Easyway systems and chemicals. Enter their giveaway. Go check them out at Long Beach. We use Easyway products every single day. If you don't know, you know now. Have you heard of Multicraft_Daddy? If you need ink supplies or a daddy, Multicraft screen printing and digital supplies for over 50 years has been providing you with top brands at competitive prices. If you mention the Printavo podcast, you'll receive an extra 10% off your order. Dave gives away a free case of PMI tape for every episode. All you have to do is go to his Instagram, Multicraft_Daddy, follow, look at all of his corny videos, and shoot him a note, and he'll enter you in for a drawing. This is for new customers only, but give Dave a follow. If you're ready to take your custom apparel to the next level, you should definitely check out Stalls. Stalls is the leader in heat printing solutions. Whether you're a small business just starting out or an established brand that's scaling up, Stalls makes the hustle easy. They're here so you can simply heat, press, and profit. I've been developing a new patch line for headwear, and I've been using Stalls. I've been specifically using some of their new PVC, like the silicone patches that have been incredible. Whether you're, looking to do DTF patches, order twill, you name it, hit up Stalls. You can save 20% on your next DTF transfer order using the code Hustler20. They will absolutely be at Long Beach. We appreciate you, Stalls. All right, let's hop on into the episode.
How you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing good. So, Jared, we got Ross at ROQ. We got Jared at ROQ, although some new roles for both of you guys. I reached out because somebody shared in our Fabric Slack channel, Liquid Graphics appoints Ross Hunter as Chief Operating Officer. And I saw that. I was like, whoa. I mean, that sounds awesome. I mean, it sounds like a really cool move, but also I thought a significant change in the space, similar to Jared, your shift from president at GSG to VP of sales and, managing a big sales team at ROQ too. So those are some pretty big moves.
It's a positive change.
Yeah,
but lots of change.
Last year for me has been quite a leap from GSG to Grimco to here. So it's but it's all exciting. Bittersweet for me, because I came on board at ROQ in large part because of Ross. Sad to see him go.
Ross, are you bait and switch Jared? No, I'm kidding.
No, this all came out of left field, man. Left field for sure. But yeah, in a good way. My relationship with Liquid Graphics goes back, frankly, to when they started with ROQ. So they made a huge, switch in technology about, I guess I want to say 6 years ago now, 6 or 7 years ago. Run all ROQ equipments. We've had a relationship for quite some time. And They were looking for someone to come in and help actually run their sales team, marketing, as well as bring new technologies into the business to start to continue to automate. So, more in tune to like robotics, eliminating labor out of the process. And Josh reached out to me and offered me a gig, and it was one of those opportunities to kind of move into a new phase of my life, get back into Southern California with my family. So we'll be neighbors, Bruce. And it's been a really fun ride at ROQ, and they're going to be amazing. And Jared's here taking over a lot of great things, and he can talk a little bit about that. But just kind of a new journey, really.
Right. And I want to get into that too. Secondly, actually, about some of the robotic stuff, because I read the full press release. I don't think that maybe the first time I've ever read a full press release, because normally it's like very corporate jargony, like roo roo wah wah. But like it actually was interesting talking about some of the details. Josh was just mentioning the founder and chairman. I don't know exactly what Josh's role still is, but like he was just giving some real concrete quotes of what you'll be responsible for. So I thought that was neat. Yeah, let's talk on ROQ first. Like first, Jared, you jumping over. We did a call recently and your shift from GSG, and just looking at your history, rising up the ranks and becoming president, 21 years there, which is, I mean, kind of unheard of in a lot of spaces now. And then now being able to run things over at ROQ. What was that transition like?
Yeah, I mean, 25 actually. It's it was a family. GSG was a family business. We're very proud of what we built there. We're very proud of the things Grimco has taken and done with the business. There's some Grimco, as you know, is a strong partner of ROQ. So when I went over there, it was just more of one of those things where the opportunity at ROQ was much better for me long term, career wise. I wanted to try something on the manufacturing side. So, but it's been a wild ride, to say the least. I mean, it's interesting because you've gotten to see a lot of the shift in the market too over time, right? And seeing how customers have evolved and developed both on the distribution side, now on the manufacturing side, getting to play a part in that. But that's a lot of what I think I bring to the table there for ROQ to understand the distribution channel, to understand the customer side more, because we've dealt a lot on the consumable side, right? As a distributor, we were more focused on consumables than we were equipment.
Right. And like ROQ, especially with you, Ross, since 2019 or so, I feel like that's been a big, coming to the US, navigating the changes, I'll call it, in the industry, right? Like what people need, funneling that back to Portugal, the distribution network you created. I mean, there's like a lot that you've put together and changed in that company since 2019. What do you feel like was the biggest win? And then maybe I'm curious, what is the biggest, I don't know about loss, but like, step that you're like, oh man, I wish I would have blah, blah, blah.
It might be the same two things. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think, my biggest win in the last 6 years of building the company to where it's at today has just been the people. It's been building a great team, all of the folks that are out there helping everyone rock every day, that are on our team here internally. It's been being a part of other printers' journeys, helping them build their businesses and watch them grow and grow with them, frankly. If I were to sum it up into one word, I think I'm most proud of culture. I mean, we have built just an amazing company, a group of people, customer base. It continues to grow. It continues to evolve as we're bringing, new technologies to market, which is largely in part due to all the feedback that we get from our customers. And I think that that's what's really unique about ROQ is, we're able to take real time situations in, printing businesses that are operating every day, take their feedback and build equipment around that, right? And take that stuff to market. So, At the end of the day, it's what I'm most excited about. It's also the hardest thing for me to leave. These people are part of me. And they will continue to be, which is kind of cool. So of all places for me to kind of go on my next adventure to, going to a client space that we're going to be building and growing and continuing to work with ROQ and grow with them is exciting. So, as I've had to tell a lot of our team, I'm not dead. I'm not dying. I'm not going away. Right. Everyone's going to see me. I'm going to be at shows. I'm going to be in the industry. I'm just on the other side. And so it's kind of a natural fit. It was a natural evolution. Liquid has over doubled in size, in the last few years. I get to go help them build something new now, very similar to what I got to do at ROQ. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be kind of a new challenge for me. I'm kind of a full evolution, right? Because I owned my own print shop for years and then came to the manufacturing side. And now I'm kind of going, full circle back into production. But it's a big business. Liquid is a great company. It's a very large, one of the largest printers in the United States. I think I can go in and take everything that I've learned, along my road and affect positive change there and help, grow another culture and continue to help their business evolve.
What do you think, though, were some of the pivotal, like specific moments at ROQ that sort of tilted the curve a bit? Not that was a good answer, but like that was like the president of ROQ answer. Like, what's the like, dude, like we ended up like the distributor decision, very difficult, but or like the huge digital investment, very difficult but pivotal or like, what are those you feel like?
I would say, there's a few. Digital is definitely probably the largest thing that, from you kind of think about it. We were in the market, as notoriously a screen print manufacturing company for 43 years now. And in the US, going on close to, I guess, 14. So, that's how people knew us. That's what we did. And so when you bring in, a new technology and you're trying to penetrate into a new market, print on demand specifically with digital products, it's a huge investment. We continue to massively invest in that space because this industry shift is really pushing people that direction. But it's a real challenge too, because, people view us as their partner in screen printing. And so when you get into a new technology, we had to immediately become experts, right? And it's a new field. It's something that, Kornit, right? They've been doing it for 25 years. So it would be like them getting into screen printing for the first time, right? So we're kind of moving into that side of the industry. And I'd say that not only was it challenging, but it was pivotal. And we've really kind of redefined our company, from that change, and are focused on all four pillars of the industry. So screen, DTF, DTG, and finishing, and, are kind of re-identifying ourselves as, a one-stop brand where you can get all of these things. Just pivotal moments, man. Biggest moment, of course, was launching the company on a stage in between Sugar Ray and Sublime, playing an amazing concert, right? There's some stuff like that I think, the whole industry got to be a part of that we'll never forget.
That is kind of crazy. To think about, even though, let's call it, both pieces of equipment are, decorating apparel, if you really get into the weeds, like I can only imagine the difference in engineering needs, the thought process of it, probably the software process of how it's running on the, the I'm guessing the chips or whatever, like in detailed in those piece of equipment. I'm assuming you have to spin up a new department and hire product and people that really specialize that. And then on the sales end, it's like, we're selling a totally different product basically for sort of a different use case here. What was that? It seems chaotic. Or like, was it like it definitely
for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so I've sold, I've been around the industry for a long time. We've sold competitive equipment to ROQ. We've also, when I was with GSG, And then coming over to the ROQ side, ROQ, what's unique about ROQ is it's an engineering company that specializes in apparel decorating, right? This is a very outside the box, very creative company. And that's what attracted that, and all the people attracted me to ROQ. And so anytime a solution or a need is brought from a client, like, we're really needing to do this, and we see your equipment, it's really, could you do something like that? And it's very interesting and to see behind the curtain now, to see how that process plays out and how open-minded the company is to that. Sorry, Ross, I'll let you.
Yeah, and I mean, just on that sales side, it's not just new technology. Back to kind of that question, it's a new client, right? And it's a new client in a shifting market where people are kind of lost right now. I mean, there is a small group of people that have it figured out, but COVID, and I've said this in every podcast and every interview that I've done, but we are still feeling the effects of COVID today. The end consumers' buying habits have changed. Our industry has notoriously been 20 years behind in technology, software, general business acumen in a lot of ways, because it's a lot of folks that were artists or in bands or firefighters or whatever, right, that get into printing apparel. And so when you're trying to show people new tools and new ways of doing business, this is a hard industry to do that in. And so I would say that that's been our biggest challenge, is really just educating. People out there need to understand what's happening right now, because they need something different than we did, 5-10 years ago. It's completely changed. You have to have software. You have to be able to print one-offs. You have to be able to do bulk. There's all these technologies out there, and you've got to do it cheap, right? Because you got to reduce labor. So getting us to educate, I think, has been the hardest challenge, especially when not everyone's on Instagram, not everyone's on Facebook, not everyone's browsing the internet. You got to go
across all channels.
Yeah, it's a trip, and you're still not getting to everyone. And, we've realized we are back to a world where we have to show up. We have to go in person. We have to bring people out to our facilities. We have to go to their businesses, right, to talk to them, which is a huge shift in where we were back in 2021, 2022, which is people kind of getting in the industry, knowing what they want, picking up the phone and saying, hey, what's up with the screen printing press or this folding line or whatever the case may be. And you're just kind of doing a transaction, supporting the client and moving forward. And now there's so much layered into that, getting people educated first and then moving them through the process to get the right tools for what's going to help their business accelerate.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a hats off from my perspective, right? Like, I just imagine on the software side, we were so focused on building workflow software. And then we were like, oh my gosh, especially with COVID, we have to have e-commerce as well. And it was sort of tiptoeing into it, building it. But then it was like, I feel like we're half-assing a little bit of both. I don't think we put at the gas pedal hard enough on both of them at the same time, but that would have required a pretty big people investment with engineering and so on. And so, totally in what Jared is saying, when you guys brought me to Portugal years ago, it was crazy seeing that in person, like the engineering aspect of, first of all, the place is like clean, like, everyone's like collar is like perfectly beautifully pressed and everything. And, the clothing, the warehouse, maybe there was a little bit of cleanup before we came in, but still, you can't make it like that pristine, and that the floors look like that, and that there's no dust. But it is a reflection, I think, on how do you create companies that stay around a long time, right? Like, it's hard for a company to be around and weather different trends that just naturally happen. And I think, to your point, Ross, COVID really shifted those maybe quicker. Like, what? And I'm curious, Jared, too, after, like, what are some of those lasting effects that you guys see on the equipment side? And then we'll kind of talk about distribution side too.
I mean, to your point just there about a lasting company. I mean, our GSG was in business 75 years from when we were founded to when we sold. January 1st of this year. Some of the things that the similarities and symmetries that I see from what we built there and what I see at ROQ, ROQ is, when you walk into the corporate office, you see kind of a timeline as you go up the staircase, right, of how the company was built, iterations of the logo. 1982 was when ROQ was founded. So it's really easy for me to tell people how old the company is. It's as old as me. I'm 43. I was born in 1982. So for somebody that sold against ROQ for years, I viewed ROQ as the 14-year-old company Ross is talking about, right? I didn't view it I was competing against ROQ and seeing some of the things that they came out. Just being ignorant to all of it, and then seeing behind the scenes and starting to the marketing and social media that they did. I'm starting to see some, like, this is a bigger company than I realized, right? And so, to your point, going to the factory, seeing some of the innovation, seeing the cleanliness and kind of the culture that the factory operates at it's second to none, honestly. And that's the sort of thing that it takes to weather some of these storms where, it has been a rough go of it for the screen printing market, but we're starting to see some big turnarounds and big shifts. Printing United was the biggest show we've ever had from speaking with my ROQ.
What do you think, maybe on the equipment end then, Ross, like you said there's some lasting effects that we're still seeing from COVID. Like, is that interest rates related? Or like, yeah, what's been happening that you see?
I think that we're going to continue to see the amount of decorators in this country shrink. I think that, what used to work doesn't work today. Meaning the people that aren't adapting to have the ability to build web stores, to do one-off print-on-demand printing, to also offer bulk, to also offer promo and, other items in their business. Used to, you could, kind of own a little bit of a local market. I mean, that's what my first business was founded off of, that I ran for, 10 years, right? It's, I could go to local high schools and every school was worth, 30, 40 grand a year. And we'd have all these, districts that we worked with and different stuff. Well, that school today does not want to work with who I was back when I owned that company anymore. They want a web store. They don't want to do the transaction. They just want to send people merch and collect money, right? But they don't want to hold on to it. They don't want that stuff sitting in their student government room. They don't want to take the cash. They don't want to be left with 30% at the end of the year that they couldn't sell, and they're having to figure out how to donate or get rid of. And, what's happened is the shift happened at the same time everyone was worried about our economy, the geopolitical situation just happening across the globe. There's all this easy finger pointing. Oh, my business is hurting because of X. Not, hey, my business is hurting because apparel decorations changed as we know it, because our end consumer has shifted their buying habits, right? They're more wise to technology. They're more wise to this stuff. And so what's happening is a lot of people aren't figuring it out. We've seen a lot of people go out of business over the last, 2 years now. I think that we've also seen a ton of M&A activity, more than this industry has ever seen and ever, which is nuts. I mean, we're seeing more decorators team up with each other, right? So this one's got the ability to do bulk. This one's got the ability to do print on demand. Hey, let's join forces and be more things to everyone. We're seeing more technology come in. I mean, how many pieces of software have popped up in the last 18 months? It's insane. It's insane. And it's great. We needed this, right? But business owners have to educate themselves on it, and they have to adapt to that change. We can't be that industry anymore that's like, DTF shit. I'm never going to do that. I'm a screen printer. I'm an artist. That's got to, no, it's got to shift. Nike and Disney made those things okay. And guess what? Now every other major brand is making it okay too. So the end consumer, they're not feeling that DTF thing and being like, oh, this is a piece of shit. They're spending $30 on it and buying it, right? And sorry, I sound passionate, but it's like, this is a place where people really have to understand you've got to get out of your own way and you have to adapt to change. And we've had to do it, right? I mean, the second DTF hit the market and became a real thing, and it's been around for years and years and years and years, but it finally got better and it hit, and we had major brands adopt it. So what did we do? We went out immediately and started engineering so we can make sure that we're relevant in that space. And to be frank, in the last 18 months, we've sold more of that machine than anything else. And it's the in press. It's changing the way that people are able to apply DTF, right? And they can do it at scale. I've been in one business, they're doing print on demand only with DTF, and they're running 4 or 5 of our end presses. So imagine the bulk on that.
Wow. You're talking with the robot auto transfer puller too?
Yeah. 50 to 20,000 unique pieces a day, all print on demand, all DTF. That's all they do.
This is what's going to be a benefit to Liquid Graphics, having somebody like Ross come in with his expertise and kind of well-rounded view of the entire industry. I mean, again, I found out last Thursday. I was very upset. But again, I couldn't be happier for Josh and the team at Liquid Graphics and the asset they're getting in Ross, because he's going to bring a lot of this expertise and forward thinking to that company.
Jared, with your background, coming from GSG, more diversified distributor, right, across different sectors, was there also some lasting COVID effects you guys are seeing, or shifts in the market that have happened?
That was interesting. It's interesting you asked that. We had our business was pretty well split between commercial sign, digital, wide format printing. Was a segment. More industrial signage, electrical signage was a segment, and then apparel decorating was a segment, and that included embroidery, heat transfer, things like that. That was the heat transfer market boomed during COVID, right? So did as far as bouncing back. All those restaurants that turned into drive-through or takeout or drive-up places to eat all had to have graphics, right? So we actually turned around and grew sales during COVID just a bit, but it was all driven by that sort of thing. But our apparel decorating market was hit extremely hard. It was tough to. We shifted to masks, right? We were supplying blanks. We were selling a lot of sublimation printers. We were, just customers that needed to shift just to keep the doors open and make some form of income for their employees, what they could keep. As far as the lasting effects go, I think we saw that boom in 2022 of equipment, right? We had this massive surge, people that had held on to equipment that they probably should have replaced, but then COVID happened. So then they kind of waited. That came in 2022. You had all the money that came in from the government. You had equipment finance companies getting very aggressive, things like that. And then that kind of bullwhip effect of that. I think we're starting to see the tail end of that. But again, DTF played into that. But when Ross mentions that, the Impress was something that I was extremely jealous of, because we didn't have a solution for that, like a carousel heat press, high-speed heat press for DTF. In fact, that's how I met Ross. I started to see if I could private label a ROQ Impress at the time. It was gray. It was matte gray. If hypothetically it was matte gray. How's that? Yeah. Fortunate opportunity. Ross talked about M&A. Well, we've been a part of that, right? Grimco came in and there was a very good fit there. Don't regret selling to those guys and gals. They're great. It's a great company, great family, a lot of great people over there. So, and a lot of the GSG family that we had have assimilated in and also throughout other parts of the industry. So it's good to keep seeing familiar faces and things like that throughout.
I'm sure you have, contractual things as do I with stuff that I can or can't share. But like what I feel like psychologically, when those things happen too, there's a lot of cultural, it's just different. Companies are run differently. The teams are run differently. We had that, Printavo versus Inksoft, and then it's like, all right, this is your coworker, and it's like, what? Like everything they said is that's stupid. That's stupid. But after a while, it's like, oh, okay, we can actually work together and build something way better. As much as you can say, what was that like, that transition with GSG and Grimco for you, for the team, the folks that you worked with?
I think that there's probably that's probably relative to who you would be asking. I can't speak for everybody there. I know that, you try to do right by is everyone, and there's going to be some people that it's a lot harder on. I mean, yeah, and so I don't think there's a right answer for all of that and how you do that. But I think I like to hope that we did as good of a job as we could have done or the best way to assimilate people in or to make them feel comfortable. I know one of the first events that we all met together, right? So Grimco, GSG folks all meeting together. Keith Patillo spoke and asked me to speak. It was at ISS Long Beach in January earlier this year, almost a year ago. I said, unfortunately, I know that there are a lot of people that like competitors of Grimco that are good at making them out to be the devil, but I thought I was the best at it. And unfortunately now I'm the same one saying, hey, everybody here is family and let's try this. So there was a little bit of, that's tough, right? That's all similar to your story where you're saying here was our competitor and now we're all meeting and on the same team. So, but again, they've made several acquisitions. They are very good at going through that process. And no, I don't have, there's always second thoughts and questioning yourself on how you go about things, right? I think that's just common because you care. I mean, I cared about trying to do it the right way, and I know they did as well. So,
yeah, it's tough. No matter even the size. I mean, Ross, you talk about shops merging and things too. Whenever we have conversations with shop owners, we had one on this podcast. It's just like there's a lot of unknowns that happen. Even with, let's say 5 people and 10 people, it's, whoa, we do things actually way, it's like moving in together, right? You're like, wait a second, this is not okay with me, how you did this or that, and getting along.
Change is always tough, but good communication through change is always going to make it easier. And I mean, even this one with, me changing roles and moving out kind of in a new adventure, it gives me amazing peace of mind knowing Jared, is there with our team, knowing that Cindy, our COO, is there with our team, and then knowing our team isn't going to skip a beat, right? I mean, these are amazing people. We all have very, very similar values, getting to meet Jared ahead of him onboarding with us and understanding GSG and what they poured into all of their people and just the values that him and his dad, really held true, is very similar to the way that we run ROQ. And so, while this is tough, because any transition's tough, any change is tough, I know that ROQ and this transition at least is going to be amazing. I don't think they're going to skip a beat at all because we've just got great people that care about people. And at the end of the day, that's what matters.
What do you guys think 2026 looks like for ROQ? Maybe on the product side, whatever you can share and whatever strategies I feel like or where you think the space is going, or if it's just a continuation.
I'll speak to the space and a couple things, and I'll Jared can talk some about some of the new innovations. But I think we are crawling out of bottom. I think industry went to bottom. I think now people are adapting, people are adjusting. The noise has calmed down. I think tariffs has set in. They are what they are, which was that was another big just caveat of fear, right? That people had was, how is this going to affect us? And I think that we've all now just gotten used to paying more money for things, which is not a great thing to say, but it is what it is, right? And I think that we're pulling out of this. I think, Printing United this year was a really good leading indicator of how 26 should go. It was extremely positive. I think that, Impressions Long Beach will give us just another taste of kind of what's to come in 26, but I definitely think that the industry is calm. I think people are getting back to building, to adapting to this change, to adding technologies to their business, continuing to automate, touches out of the business so they can save money. So I'm really bullish on next year. I mean, I think it's going to be a great year for the industry. I think it's a rebound year. I think we're pulling out of this kind of mess that we've all felt for the last 2 years. And ROQ is continuing to innovate and adjust with that. So, I expect next year to probably have, I would say at least 3 to 5, like pretty massive product releases.
Wow. Is that normal or is that more than normal?
It's more than normal. We're having to really catch up with robotics. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of what people are going to see are going to be things that eliminate time or people out of processes. And that's including screen. And I want to be really clear to everyone. Actually, you guys will see a ton of innovation in screen this year because screen is not going away. It is relevant. It is just an arduous process. So we are engineering and developing tools that are going to make it way less arduous, less touches, more automation. And, it's stuff that's going to like eliminate setups completely. All robotics don't have to register, meaning anyone can run a press, right? Because before you had to have a professional operator because they had to register screens. They had to line everything up, right? If we can take that away and make it, for lack of better terms, idiot proof, and I hate using that word, but it's true in this case, where you press a button and something does it for you, it's going to change the game with screen printing, right? So there's going to be a lot of robotic innovation that's going to be coming out from ROQ. And then we've got some big stuff coming down the pipe in digital as well. We've got really big things coming out with DTF, with the in-press and continued automation and innovation there, which we'll have some of that at Long Beach. So people should definitely come out to the atrium and come into the booth because we're going to have new technology to show there.
I guess just speaking to the excitement that like I told you, seeing behind the curtain a little bit. And I spent 10 days in Portugal right after I started and seeing some of the innovation firsthand and how far along, like some of the things Ross is talking about, you're going to see a fair amount here in next month in Long Beach.
And how does that work, Jared? Like, I'm just curious, like, do you guys have product calls, weekly or monthly with a team? How does that communication work?
Weekly. We have a great team, and Ross stressed this. I guess another thing I'll stress before I say this is that the team that we just spent the past 3 days in strategic planning and with our team up in Vancouver, Washington, and honestly, I told my wife, I said, I couldn't be more happy of where I'm at and the culture and the team that we have here. As it relates to the product meetings, we have a big asset in Buck Primo that really drives that. And he's just been on site for the past, last week. He was in Portugal all last week.
So like installers and maintenance team that's just so in depth. Like, hey guys, did you know about this? Blah, blah, blah.
Well, and he's hands-on on the equipment, not only at our facility in Claremont, Florida, but also takes it over there and they're hashing out all the pitfalls of things that these innovations are really close. These aren't things that you're going to see like late December, like a year from now. We're talking early, Q1, Q2. So there's a lot of exciting things coming down the pipes.
It's interesting. It's like the team on the ground doing the install. It's like, okay, we need to send them over to Portugal now for a month, have them work on stuff with them, and then come back to, keep doing their.
Yeah, Buck took over head of product a little over a year ago. And I mean, he's been with us since the brand's been in the US. I think he actually just celebrated his 12th or 13th year. And he did, I think, our very first install ever in North America, right? So this is like he learned blind on this stuff. And, he goes there quarterly, usually spends 2 to 3 weeks with their engineering team. They go through all this stuff, they make tweaks, because every market's a little different too. So I think when you're developing this stuff, it's got to make sense globally. It can't just be something for the American market, or can't just be something for, the Asian market. And printing is different, right? If you go into, a large apparel decorator in China, they're not printing tubular fabric. They are printing flat stock, and then it's going to get sewn together. So the tools that they need to print are actually a little bit different than the tools, that we use here, because we're actually loading a physical finished good on a press, right? And decorating it.
So you have the buck of US and the buck of China meeting the great minds.
Well, no, it's yeah. So Portugal develops, right, globally. Buck comes in and definitely gives an American spin on things, because it is a little bit different. And there have been products that have been built specifically for our market, right? So like our ROQ like the full electric press, that was built for the US market. Have they sold a couple other places globally? Yes, but very little. Where round presses are really big in the United States, you go to any of the Asian market, they're running all ovals. They don't print on round machines, really. So yeah, there is a big difference. And so when we're engineering all these robotics and things, we have to think through a global strategy, not just how does this work here.
Even on the software end, it's like, okay, shipping in the US works great. Now, how do you ship across, to Canada, or Canada here? Or now we've got a customer that signs up in X country, and that's totally different in currency and blah, blah, blah. So, from a product perspective, it's really cool to see. It's hats off to the team there on being able to do that. And especially in a way, being able to iterate on that quickly. And I know we've had a lot of chats with AS Color, because I envy that ability too, to try to stay as close to the customers and sort of paying a price because of how much you have to invest more with their distribution and so on, to have that real-time customer feedback almost. And it seems like you guys are very similar. I just want to switch gears though to Liquid. So I'm going to just read this quote here in the press release, and then we could dive in a little bit more, because I'm just curious what exactly it means. So it says Hunter will oversee. This is from Josh Merrill, the founder and CEO. He says Ross will help oversee production innovation, integrating advanced technologies, including automation and robotic improvements within Liquid. Now, if I change this name, you could almost say like Elon's talking about SpaceX or something, like to swap out words here. So it sounds very cool and impressive. What exactly does that mean? What are some examples of that you can foresee?
Yeah, our goal at Liquid is, obviously there's, tens of thousands of shirts printed a day, right? So you can imagine the amount of labor, the amount of touches, on a single garment, right? Going through a process. So from screen room to floor production to fulfillment, which has got a whole compliance piece to it, right? Tagging, bagging, making sure everything is compliant to whatever brand it is and where it's going to. Our goal is to automate those touches. So we're looking at robotics for, loading, unloading, robotics in the dark room to help with cleaning. So screen cleaning, right? Getting those processes automated. We already have the machines that are automated to do the work. So now it's, how do you take the thing and get it in the machine without someone having to physically touch it, right? So there's going to be a lot of robotic development there. It's interesting because ROQ's working on some of this as well. Things like auto registration is going to be a big part of what we're going to implement with camera vision. Camera vision quality control is another huge one. So you don't have to rely on people, right? So camera learning to do all that.
Is in like a camera on top of a press, or coming out of a dryer type, or going into a dryer?
Both. Yeah, you want it in both places that communicate back to an operator that something's gone wrong. Conveyance through the warehouse is a big thing. So, conveyance, so conveyors. So instead of people walking or taking boxes of shirts or piles of shirts from here to here, have that automated. It's another thing that we're looking at. So there's just it's kind of everywhere, right? So it's finding and developing these things with companies that have the technology to do it. ROQ will be a huge part of that story, in a lot of different places, and then we're also looking at like true robotic. I'm talking actual robot arms, right? To potentially do other processes. I mean, our goal is to be the most state-of-the-art printing facility in the country.
How do you, coming into your role, Liquid is, Josh was very kind to open the doors for Print Hustlers a couple of years ago. It's 120 something thousand square feet. I don't remember the numbers, like 15 to 20 presses or something, and like huge facility, hundreds of people. You coming in this role, sounds like there's so much to do. What do you feel like the first 100 days, like how do you approach a role like that? What does the first 100 days look like?
The first 30 is learning. I mean, it is going to be me driving everyone bananas with question after question after question after question. It's learning the way they do business. It's learning the way they sell. It's learning their processes in the back. It's learning the people. It's really just ingraining yourself into and immersing yourself into the business and understanding what is current state, right? Because it's one thing to say, okay, sure, we're going to go put robots places, but where? I don't even know where I'm starting and all that, right?
Yeah. So like, how do you sort that? What's the most value add?
Exactly. So that's a lot of learning. It's a lot of just going in and watching workflow, watching the way, people do things and asking a ton of questions. Right. And I'm doing that across the whole business. So it's not just in production, right? It's how do we sell something, right? I mean, a lot of what we do is full package. So it's cut, sewn, dyed, there's an overseas element. I mean, we're working in multiple different countries with a lot of different vendors, because a lot of this stuff's very just specialty, high end, full package, garments. So there's all these elements that I have to be able to understand. And then it's coming up with a plan, right? So the next 30 days you're planning, you're modeling out, your thoughts, you're making sure there's an ROI attached to everything that you're doing. So it's just a ton of business modeling, and then it's getting buy-in from leadership and the rest of the team. And, I'd say that the next is when you start executing. So that like 90-day mark, there should be projects in process and things getting done. Right. So you got to be methodical about it. You can't just walk in and, and start spending money. That's what most people do.
That was it's interesting. That was an interview question I used for a lot of like more senior leaders, and when we were hiring for that. And it's like, what is your first 90 to 100 days? And it was total red flag if someone was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this and this and this and this. And I was like, dude, you don't even like understand. Like, you're just making a lot of assumptions and bringing those into here versus it was green. It was like a good sign if someone was like, dude, honestly, I'm just here to learn and soak things up, and then we'll start to make some decisions after a couple of months.
Yeah. What's cool is I've got a leg up, right? I mean, me and Josh have been close for years. I've been in that business more times than I can count. I know the people, I've kind of got a nice head start because of the relationship.
Yeah. And I'm sure some of your thought processes apply to smaller shops too, right? Because 99% of shops, maybe more, are smaller than Liquid. So if someone wants to think about applying automation or investing in those areas, maybe what are some of the principles that you're thinking about that they can think of with their business too, to spend time or money in those either robotics, efficiency things, advanced technologies, that kind of stuff? Where do people start?
I think they've got to do the same thing I'm going to do in the first 30 days. I mean, and that's what most people don't do, is take a step back, look at your business, find the bottlenecks, learn something about your business, right? You're going to have to be out there with stopwatches and timers, and you're going to have to watch processes, understand where your employees are bottlenecked and they're spending the most time. I mean, sometimes it's as simple as adding automated reclaiming, right? Something that simple, very inexpensive investment can save you bukus and bukus of money and time, and frankly, health, because it's a lot safer to throw something in the machine than spraying chemistry all over screens and scrubbing and blah, blah, blah. But you're going to learn where those inefficiencies are, and that's the first place that you should invest. When I'm looking at taking a process and adding robotics to it, I'm going to start with the place that we are losing the most time and spending the most amount of money. Where is that? And then what do I need to develop, or what do I need to buy, or who do I need to work with, right, to change that process? But you've got to look, through the whole business and understand that. And everyone should be doing this, right? I mean, there's sometimes, Bruce, just the simplest stuff where people's dryers 2 steps too far away from where they're unloading t-shirts. Those 2 steps or 3 steps that you could take out of a process to have someone just take a shirt, unload, and turn. I've been to shops where they take the shirt off and they walk 2 steps, put it on a dryer, 2 steps back. That one change, the amount of money and time it can save you and capacity that it could add to your machine where you could print more, it's a massive number. Massive. And those are the little things that people can do tomorrow, right? Those are things that don't cost money, but you have to be looking at that.
That's a great point. I know Steven's talked about that. Like year end, he'll do that in his shop. It's just like one of his final tasks is just, can I remove a couple of steps between what people are doing? Spend a couple hours, check. Okay, done, move on.
I want to give a shout out to, I don't even know if he'd be, well, I'll share it anyway. So Ryan Gandy at Gandy Inc. in San Angelo has a process where the first 30 minutes of, I think every day or every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, first 30 minutes, everybody goes around and finds an improvement, something that, hey, this is really bothering me, right? And some of it's as simple fix as like transition from one warehouse to another where a cart gets stuck, right? Creating a little ramp there, little things like that, where now it's a smooth transition, right? And the employees are like bought into, now they're willing to fix all these little things, and they've made massive improvements there. Phil and Ryan, the Gandys are doing out in San Angelo is really cool. Seeing those improvements. Is it all robotics? No. Is some of it robotics? Yes. And then other things are more of just efficiencies.
There is a video, if you guys search 2-second lean print hustlers back in 2022, they talked about how to implement this in your shop and how to get people more motivated about doing this too. Because I think that's part of it, is like, just like adding a new KPI to measure, it takes some time and repetitive, like following up and getting people motivated to want to care about this stuff. Anyway, he does like an hour and a half talking about those like morning meetings and people bringing those things to the table and empowering the team to be able to do that stuff.
Yeah, I will say too, if people don't know where to start, and this is totally a shameless plug, but our team does that. Our team will come to your shop. The ROQ team will come out. They'll evaluate your business. They'll look at your processes, and they'll help you understand where those places to invest are. And it may not even be with us. We've been many places where, we've helped people just change efficiencies, and they weren't even customers. We get to meet them. That stuff goes a long way for us. And that really is a part of that partner in print. I mean, we do people's floor plans for them. We'll help reduce those steps. We'll go in and help understand, like, what do you need next? Where are those bottlenecks? Our team is absolutely amazing at that. So if it's something where you don't know where to start, call us.
He's still ROQ. He's talking about our team at ROQ. I didn't know if you... Yeah, exactly. He keeps saying we, so he's still on board.
It will never not be we, Jared. It's always going to be. Look at my walls back here, man. It's all.
Do you still have that lower back tattoo too, Ross?
Oh yeah.
That's so funny you say that. We just had a lower back tattoo conversation yesterday. Yeah, that's hilarious.
It was part of the three day strategy. Love it. Hey guys, thanks so much for being able to share. I just find it very cool to always see behind, what's going on behind the scenes when this stuff happens. And I know others like to hear the wins, missteps, and lessons as well. So Jared's taken over. You guys can reach out to him. We'll drop his info down below. VP of Sales leading over the ship at ROQ. Ross Hunter moving down to Southern California. I'll see you down there, Ross. Pumped to be able to hang out a little bit more. And
we'll be able to see everyone in Long Beach. So
we'll see everybody at Long Beach. And happy holidays, everyone. Print Hustlers, thank you guys for joining us for another weekly episode. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for listening. Hopefully that was informative. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications if you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy all the stuff we're putting out, it's really helpful. We love to just be able to see it. That means that we're doing a good job. To subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and hit the like button. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.